TopMedTalk.
Hello and welcome to TopMedTalk. We're the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology 2023 here in beautiful Seattle, Washington. I'm Desiree Chappell, your host, joining you from the NorthStar Anesthesia Exhibit Hall booth 605, where we've carved out a little bit of a space over here for us to record. So we really want to say a big shout out to NorthStar Anesthesia for hosting us this year at the AANA and being able to record our podcast that we know are so important for everyone to be able to listen to. So in case you didn't know, the AANA is the professional organization for CRNAs or nurse anesthetists here in the U.S. The annual Congress is the largest gathering of over, I think, about 4,000 CRNAs,
Right.
all in the same place. Yeah, student nurse anesthetists, people from nurse anesthesia programs. And as a CRNA myself, it really is a privilege to be here at the meeting, seeing friends, colleagues from the years past, catching up with everybody. And really, this is a great opportunity to network with CRNAs, academic programs, industry from across the U.S. So it is a fantastic meeting. Now, this year at AANA, we have a chance to catch up with some friends, some voices we've heard from in the past, and meet some new friends here on TopMedTalk. Today, we have one of my colleagues from NorthStar Anesthesia, Tim Jones, who is our Vice President of Academic Affairs. Tim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Desiree. I appreciate the introduction.
Yeah.
Look forward to meeting all the faculty that I frequently meet with. They are nearly always here, and they always send a very strong contingency of their nurse anesthesia residents. So looking forward to that as well.
Well, Tim, being Vice President of Academic Affairs for NorthStar, I think that's a relatively rare type of a role in the CRNA world. Can you tell us just a little bit more about what you do and the importance of your role here at NorthStar?
NorthStar was very instrumental in starting role similar to this. I think it's a great opportunity for a anesthesia management company to build relationships with nurse anesthesia programs. I have the opportunity of going to all of the universities that are within the footprint of NorthStar Anesthesia. Consequently, I build those relationships with the clinical directors, the program directors, and our goal, obviously, is for their nurse anesthesia residents to come to a NorthStar clinical site, because we believe so strongly at NorthStar that the culture is exactly what they'll be looking for when they become a CRNA. Consequently, if they're exposed to that culture, it's very true, not only in truth, but it's such a great opportunity for them to actually see what NorthStar is about, to see that our CRNAs and our MDs do have a strong working relationship, a collaboration that is not often seen in other sites within the country.
I love the idea that bringing them in actually makes them part of the culture as well.
That's very true.
And that's really, I think, exciting for us as a large company where, it's really important. And then to them too, to feel, part of something bigger, even as a student nurse anesthetist. So I think that's great. Well, Tim, we've had the opportunity to catch up with a colleague of yours, Lois Stewart, who is the program director for South College in Knoxville, Tennessee. Lois, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure and an honor, like you said, to meet up with colleagues, to make new friends and colleagues, and to collaborate on a face-to-face level.
Absolutely. Lois, for all of the listeners, why don't you give us a little bit more of an introduction? Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I am a girl that hails from the Old Dominion. I grew up in Virginia. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University for my nurse anesthesia training. And I also got my PhD in health-related science research at Virginia Commonwealth as well, under the tender mercies of the nurse anesthesia and the College of Allied Health there. I received great training in Virginia in all manners, shapes, and forms. I've been a clinical instructor, a didactic instructor, a distance faculty educator, a distant campus administrator. And then I went to Indiana in 2016 and helped Jackie Rolls open the first nurse anesthesia program in Indiana at Marian University. And God knows I learned a lot there.
Oh, my goodness. I would imagine.
There was lots of lessons to learn and lots of things to keep and lots of things to throw away. And it was just invaluable experience and certainly invaluable mentorship. I met some wonderful colleagues there. including the person that is listed as my assistant director, but we are actually co-directors of the South College Nurse Anesthesia Program, Dr. Lisa Osborne. So I just wanted to throw her name in here.
Yes.
Because she is invaluable. We could not have done what we've done at South College without each other. And the networks and the partnerships and the good karma and the goodwill that they've stored up over the years. That's what this type of event is all about.
Yeah.
So we started our new nurse anesthesia program in January of 22.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. With around 40 lovely souls that matriculated into that first cohort. And in January of 24, we will matriculate a class of 50.
Fantastic.
And in December of 24, we will graduate, hopefully, all of those with 100% pass rate on the first time.
Absolutely.
Our first inaugural cohort, who has been very patient with us, even though we have a wonderful faculty of experienced members, both administrators and faculty members. It's still a new program.
Of course.
Mhm.
Of course. Well, thank you for your contribution to nurse anesthesia and the education of. I wanted to take a moment and kind of back up just a little bit and talk about the difference in education now. Whenever I went through, all CRNAs are masters prepared as opposed to certificates, which was kind of prior to that. Now we are in a new iteration, a new phase of education for CRNAs. And I don't think we have listeners from all over the world that they may not understand. Can you walk us through a little bit about what the difference is now in being a doctoral prepared nurse anesthetist?
Sure. Obviously, we have all of the master's content that you have to be an expert clinician in anesthesia. But then when you add the fact that most students are transitioning from a bachelor's level through the 3 years of the program to not only being an anesthesia clinician that's well prepared in all aspects and all scope of practice areas, but a doctorally prepared clinician that's ready to read literature and adequately translate that to the bedside and apply best evidence and best guidelines, or create best evidence and best guidelines. To be able to do that, to benefit patients, to be in at the table instead of on the menu with corporate and executive decisions in the anesthesia world, you need the competencies that are added onto the anesthesia competencies in a doctoral program. It's really easy for students to discount that. But as clinicians, you're not used to scholarly writing, to that type of 30,000 foot view thinking. And it's a bigger transition for our residents than they anticipate. And it takes faculty expert in that too. Just because you're a great clinician doesn't mean you can teach the doctoral essentials. So you need people that have, interests and skills in all those aspects.
Yeah. Well, and as master, many of us in the old guard,
all of us here.
Mostly masters prepared. Many of us have gone back now to transition to the doctoral level by, attending programs and things like that to really kind of boost our credentials and get into this space. Is that something that you guys are addressing? So what would we call ourselves? Not secondary learners, but postgraduate.
Postmasters. Postgraduate, postmasters, doctoral education. Our institution and across the nurse anesthesia education world, that is addressed both in the postmasters level, but we also in all of our programs, even at the master's level and now at the doctoral level, you accept other advanced nurse practitioners that want to become an anesthesia, a CRNA. And you have a postdoctoral certificate program for those practitioners as well. They have to still do the anesthesia content, but usually they can get advanced standing for the doctoral essentials if they've already completed that in another program.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Well, that was something I didn't actually know. So I love that. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit. We kind of entitled this loosely as navigating the transition between, SRNA, student or resident nurse anesthetist, to becoming a full-time CRNA. And there are a lot of unique opportunities, but there are a lot of unique challenges too. And I don't want to start on the negative, but I would like to kind of talk about maybe some of those challenges that you see as a program director, and then maybe Tim, working in this space, can talk about some of those things and maybe ways that, all of us are working together to address them. Off the top of your head, what are a couple of the major challenges that SRNAs are facing right now?
I think it's such a multifactorial and complex world. And it's something that as educators, we are coming to address intentionally. But in the past, we haven't always done that.
Strategic.
Exactly. And it's kind of been, OJT or help as the particular fire presented itself.
Mm-hmm. OJT. Oh, she's off.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We do lots of letters, so we don't just say what they are.
But we are intentionally addressing that as an education industry as a whole. And I think that that's what it is. It's such a myriad of complex factors that make the perfect post-graduation employment situation for people. And the number one thing I think people have to realize is that the perfect post-graduation employment situation doesn't really exist. At least not anymore. It's a nice, fancy rose glass colored concept, but it doesn't exist. And what you have to get, I think, residents understanding is just as you prioritize care, you have to prioritize what's the most important for you in your immediate postgraduate education. And I would emphasize a couple of different things. One that Tim has spoken to, and that's culture. It is vastly underestimated, I think, by graduates. And it makes for such a difference in your transition, which is difficult. You're just a graduate nurse anesthesia provider, and you're expected to be an expert. You're expected to be fully competent and go 0 to 100.
I would even say professionalism.
Absolutely.
That is not necessarily taught, and you're at a totally different level coming in. I would say that is a huge challenge for a lot of people.
It is, just in the ways that professional bedside critical care nurses are taught to manage their difficulties and their conflict resolution. Totally a different level and a different level of professional expectation and obligation between anesthesia providers.
Yeah.
So it is a challenge for them. And I think the right culture can help you navigate those soft skill challenges that can make or break a practitioner and a group.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that we can emphasize for them is to help them prioritize what's most important. And it's not the same answer for everybody.
Right.
But I would emphasize that coming out of school, to get to a practice that maximizes your scope of practice and your learning capabilities, it's important. You're just as if you're always the smartest the day you leave school to take boards.
Right.
Your learning curve is more shallow to acquire more skills quicker than later. We can all do it
for sure,
but it's just to lay that foundation is great. So I would estimate finding a great culture, finding a great scope of practice. And if you can marry those two, fix the location, fix the work-life balance along the way.
Tim, from your perspective, I mean, you work a lot of different academic programs that have their own unique challenges to address with their students. What would you say would be some of the things that you see as you work with SRNAs and academic programs as challenges?
I will start a little before that as opposed to challenges. I believe that because of the emotional intelligence testing that is done now, One, I don't believe that I would be accepted into a nurse anesthesia program at this point.
Is that a standard now for nurse anesthesia
programs? Most places incorporate some portion of that either prior to the interview or during the interview.
Yeah, we've talked to a couple of people on TopMedTalk about EQ and putting that into, if not the academic piece, but just even as when they're applying to programs.
But I believe you're getting the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the top of the top, as far as applicants for your program. The emotional intelligence is only boosting that.
Yes.
So whether or not you're getting people that are a little bit far left or far right or awkward, whatever the word would be, because of the emotional intelligence, I don't really know. But I do believe that you are putting out are going to be extremely good practitioners. one of the things that I always look at when I do go to a site, and this may not be answering your question, is that I always love to look at their simulation lab because it's one of those things where if a school has invested not only time but money, they have superb simulation labs. And there are other schools that are lacking. I don't want to say that they're inferior, but they're certainly lacking.
Maybe the fidelity is a little bit different of the,
because we didn't have simulation when I went to Georgetown. It's a world of difference as far as the education is going. And y'all put a very heavy at South College emphasis on the simulation lab. So I think that's great. As far as the other challenges that you mentioned, I think it's one of those things that's very, I don't know if it's necessarily different, but I try to stress that you're already in your terminal degree. You're not there to make the 3.9 anymore. You're there because you want to learn your trade. And you, as in South College, is there to teach that trade. So you want to be the best of the best.
Master that trade.
That's exactly right. And I try to stress to nurse anesthesia residents, give it 5 years before you really feel that you have a strong grasp on your profession. Yes, you said you're going from 0 to 100 almost immediately. But once you get to that 100, please slow down and try and absorb everything from. We're going to talk a lot, I'm sure, about culture.
Yes.
Because to me, culture is going to transition back home with your family. If you have a great culture and a relationship with all the people that you work with, surgeons as well as any type of physician specialty, it's going to come back home with you. And that work-life balance is so critical for those people that are graduating these days.
And it may not be a popular opinion amongst all CRNAs, but I think, this idea, there's been a lot of talk about going straight into locums. And it may be because I'm of the older generation, but I do say, like, now as doctoral prepared, you have gone from 0 to 100 in 3 short years. And there is a lot to still master when you get out. And I just feel like that's a huge job because you miss culture when you go straight to locums.
Yes.
You don't get that at all. And you miss that very important piece in all of us who've been doing it for a long time, understand that it's more about like the long-term outlook of developing some of those soft skills earlier on that make you successful as you make it through your career. So I don't know, a bit of a side, but that's one thing that I'm always, from my perspective, I see.
I think you're 100% right. I think what you're describing is socialization into the role that you're ultimately supposed to perfect. I mean, that's what you should strive for.
Absolutely.
And I think that companies like NorthStar and probably no one like NorthStar encourages that.
Yeah. It's very important to us.
It's just really integral to not only how you do initially, and I certainly agree with Tim, it takes at least 5 years to really feel confident in handling anything that comes into your OR at a moment's notice. But it also lays the foundation. A profession is composed of people that not only are excellent at what they do and what the profession expects them to do, but at laying a groundwork of some sort for the future, giving back. We stand on the shoulders of those that have gone before us, and we don't want to just have excellent. And I believe NorthStar it emulates this. We don't just want to have excellent clinicians. We want to have excellent clinicians that will build the future.
Yes, leaders.
And that will secure access for every patient in this country to have excellent anesthesia care, no matter where they are.
Which everyone deserves, no matter what type of providers at the head of the bed. Yes.
Absolutely. So that's what I think, our mission is.
So we talked about the challenges. How do you, and we've maybe addressed this just a little bit, but talking about how, you as South College are working to address some of these and prepare your students as they transition?
Sure. Again, I will say that though our program is not singular in nature, I think there are aspects of it that are seen in many other programs, but our combination of those aspects might be a bit singular in nature. And we have been so encouraged to find NorthStar as a partner that was willing to see the potential in that innovation, the potential for all parties that interact in the complex dance of producing nurse anesthesia graduates to have a benefit, to have a way to get a carrot, to make a path easier, and to become so integrated in the process with each other that all of our successes, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what we try to do is offer residents some advantages in that the first year and 1/4 of the program is hybrid, meaning that they don't have to relocate ever for the first portion of the and it's front-loaded didactics with intermittent visits to campus in Knoxville, to our sim lab, which I will say our chancellor and our financial people have put a large investment in. I agree with you very much, Tim. It's been very eye-opening for us because academics and anything else runs on a budget.
Yeah. Sure.
And you understand that in large universities, you are, tethered to a lot of other considerations. So that's been refreshing. But anyway, back to the residents. So they just have to come intermittently to campus where we try to do in-person advising, complex foundational lectures, skills training, and moderate and high fidelity simulation, depending on the point that they are in the curriculum. Then when their clinical education commences, we have constructed regional geographic clinical satellites where within a reasonable travel distance, with a few exceptions for specialty rotations occasionally, they can obtain all of their required case minimums and hopefully, of course, exceed that.
Yes.
I say hopefully because we haven't graduated a class yet, but the plan is for them to exceed that. And the true joy of that is that then the clinicians in that regional satellite get to know them.
Yeah.
They get to know the culture, and it becomes an on-the-job, interview for both the culture and the resident. And mutually interested parties then can benefit greatly. And the real joy of this, hopefully in the future, once we get a little bit more established, is that we can recruit, if possible, from around the clinical satellite region. And then a nurse anesthesia resident never has to entertain the opportunity cost of relocation at all.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
At all. And then facilities can retain talent that likely won't move, because if you like where you live and you like where you train, you're probably going to stay there.
Sure.
Yeah,
you're probably going to stay there. And for an example, we have a clinical satellite in Southeast Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. And of our initial cohort of 8, 6 of them are from the Rio Grande Valley, and 4 of them trained at one of the facilities that we use or practiced, they practiced as a critical care nurse at one of the facilities we use as a clinical satellite. So it benefits all parties. And hopefully we benefit clinical partners by helping them to have access to a pipeline of known material.
Yes.
Pardon me for calling residents material, but
a known entity.
Yeah. Known entities. That's a much better phrase.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to offer to both clinical parties and clinical partners, like NorthStar has been a wonderful partner to us and to residents. That integration will further tie everyone for better products, for better outcomes, and for less opportunity costs. That's the name of the game. It's not inexpensive to go to anesthesia school. It just simply isn't.
Yeah, and it's not inexpensive to relocate and do the whole thing. So, no, I think that's great. And actually, I was going to end on that and wrap it up here today, talking about the benefit of these partnerships between industry, NorthStar entity and academic partners. I mean, I think that this is something that, Tim, I think you really highlighted for us in NorthStar, the importance of and how it benefits everyone, right? Kind of a win-win.
It's a win-win, as you said. And our relationship with South College shows that greatly, because South College is going to have a large cohort in Cincinnati, where NorthStar has a very large footprint.
Yeah.
So consequently, the goal is, as Lois said, that you bring up your ICU nurses from that area. They can join South College, and then they continue at whatever facility that they have chosen within their locality. And we've done the same thing in South Texas.
Yes.
We have NorthStar has a large footprint and is expanding. Matter of fact, I'm meeting one of the faculty next week in Corpus Christi because we're looking to expand the South Texas cohort of South College. So it's, as you said, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, and just in closing, Lois, I think the fact that you guys are really providing an unmet need by looking, beyond just staying, in Knoxville, Tennessee. I was part of a larger program, Texas Wesleyan, that we did that back in the day.
Absolutely.
And it worked beautifully. I mean, it was so wonderful. And there are so many places that, we just need more nurse anesthetists and CRNAs to just fill the spots to be able to take care and meet the needs of our patients. And so the fact that you guys are willing to do kind of that satellite program is really, I don't know if it's unique that much anymore.
Right.
But I think it's becoming something that, is great to be able to offer that service.
Absolutely.
So, anything in closing that you wanted to mention? I know we've talked about a lot of different things here today, but I just want to give you the opportunity to kind of give a plug for South College, or if nurses are interested in finding more about the program, where would they go?
Sure. But I do want to thank NorthStar for the faith that they had in our vision and for the incredible professional and courteous collaboration that we've had all along the way. And certainly Tim has led that charge.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I want to emphasize that if we don't train the anesthesia workforce of the future, and if we don't increase our training, because the demographics show that every anesthesia provider is aging out with the great tsunami, so to speak, right?
Yep.
If we don't train that, somebody else will train those providers. And for many reasons, we feel we are excellent and more flexible providers than almost any anesthesia provider out there. We feel we have the right viewpoint, and I just feel blessed to be in this profession. I really do. I think that it is unique in many ways. Its full implementation in this country is unique. It certainly is gathering steam across the globe. Certainly my mentor, Jackie Rolls, has a large hand in that.
The International Federation of Nurse Anesthetists.
And she should not be underestimated.
Yes.
So in that light, I just want to say that though we all need the same critical resources, I want to see our nurse anesthesia world and the educator world come together to collaborate on a more intentional and elaborate effort to really maximize the production of what is the best anesthesia provider out there. I'm sorry, that's that. Obviously, I'm biased.
That's okay.
Obviously, I am. And I think that partnerships like this with NorthStar, with the people that have the right motivations, is simply the best way to do it. You cannot leverage that many efficiencies by yourself.
Right.
So that's what I want to say, is that it's just a wonderful profession. I never have regretted, even in my worst case, a second being in it. And it's an honor to be able to work together with partners to train new nurse anesthesia residents. It really is. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, have a wonderful rest of your meeting to the both of you. There's still we're only on day 2, really. So there's a lot more content and great lectures and sessions and all that great stuff to see. So have a wonderful meeting. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. We really appreciate you taking the time. Tim, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you, Desiree. I appreciate it.
All right. And thanks for listening to TopMedTalk. You can always find us on your favorite social media platform, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We are there. We're also at TopMedTalk.com. You can listen to all of our great content, find, over 2,000 different podcasts there at TopMedTalk.com. So thanks and have a great time. Cheers.
TopMedTalk. Thanks for downloading TopMedTalk. Don't forget to subscribe via your podcatcher. Don't forget to check us out on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And also, don't forget, TopMedTalk is the broadcasting arm of EBPOM, Evidence-Based Perioperative medicine. We'd love you to find out more about that. If you check out ebpom.org, you can find low prices on some of the conferences we're organising around the world. Many of them are virtual and don't even involve you leaving your own home. Check out ebpom.org now.